when everything seems lost, it happened in a flash. A pressure plate, a step, a soundless explosion that tore the silence apart. Travis Mills was on his third tour in Afghanistan, a seasoned soldier, confident, focused, in control, until that step. 1 second he was walking across dusty terrain with his unit, scanning the horizon like 100 times before. The next, darkness, pain, screams that didn't sound like they came from anyone human. Maybe they came from him, maybe not. He remembers flying through the air. He remembers the taste of blood. He remembers the heat, the dust, the distant voices fading in and out, and then he remembers waking up. The room was too bright, the ceiling unfamiliar, the noise around him muted and distorted. He couldn't move. He looked down, and the world fell silent. Both arms gone, both legs gone, a body reduced to a torso and soul. Travis stared at the space where his limbs used to be. Nothing, just bandages, machines, and questions that had no answers. Why am I still here? What am I supposed to do now? How do you live when everything's been taken from you? There was no warning, no slow descent, just a crash. A man shattered into silence, but within that silence, something else was there. Something small, something unbroken, a voice, faint, quiet, almost impossible to hear. But it whispered, "You're still alive." And in that moment, survival wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning. The young dreamer from Michigan. Long before the battlefield, before the explosion, before the surgeries and silence, there was a boy. Travis Mills grew up in Vassar, Michigan. Small town life, football games, dirt roads, and a tight-knit family. He was the kind of kid who always went full speed, on the field, in the classroom, in everything he did. He loved to compete. He hated to lose, and more than anything, he believed in pushing himself beyond the limit. After high school, Travis wasn't sure what came next. College didn't call to him, but service, that did. He wanted to do something bigger than himself, something that mattered, something that demanded everything he had. At 18, he enlisted in the U.S. Army. It wasn't easy. The training was brutal, the discipline relentless. But Travis didn't back down. He thrived in the structure, in the brotherhood, in the purpose. He became a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division. Elite, fearless, respected, and in the middle of it. All he fell in love. Her name was Kelsey. Bright smile, kind soul. They met through friends, and something clicked instantly. She saw past the uniform, past the swagger, into the man who carried weight with pride. They married, built a life together, and soon welcomed their first child. Chloe, a daughter with his fire and her mother's eyes. Travis had never been more certain of his mission, to protect, to serve, and to return home safe. He deployed twice. Dangerous tours, but he made it back. Strong, whole, unshaken. Then came the third deployment. Another tour in Afghanistan, another desert, another mission. But this time, fate had other plans, and the young dreamer from Michigan, the soldier, the father, the husband, was about to face a test no one trains for. The day of the tragedy, April 10th, 2012. A clear, dry day in Afghanistan. Another patrol, another mission. Staff Sergeant Travis Mills was walking alongside his squad. The sun beat down, the dust clung to every surface. It was the kind of day that felt routine, and that's when war is most dangerous. When it feels ordinary, they stopped to rest near a small structure. Travis set his pack down, took a breath, and then he moved one step to the side. That single step changed everything. He stepped directly onto an IED, an improvised explosive device buried beneath the sand. In an instant, the world went white. The explosion ripped through the silence, through the ground, through his body. It tossed Travis into the air like a rag doll, limbs gone, blood everywhere. Shock overtook pain. He lay there, conscious, bleeding out, The chaos was immediate. Fellow soldiers rushed toward him under fire. Medics screamed orders. Someone pressed down on what was left of his arm. Another applied tourniquets. Every second mattered, and Travis, he cracked a joke. Even while fading, he used humor to hold himself together. He was flown by helicopter to Kandahar, then to Germany, and finally to Walter Reed Medical Center in the US. The journey between life and death was measured in minutes, in stitches, in machines that kept his heart beating. Then, after days in a coma, he opened his eyes. The room was white, cold, still. Kelsey stood at his side, holding his hand. He looked down and saw nothing. No arms, no legs, just bandages and absence. The doctor said he was only the fourth quadruple amputee to survive the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. It was a medical miracle, but Travis didn't feel like a miracle. He felt broken, powerless, lost. He had survived the blast, but now he had to survive something much harder, waking up to a life he no longer recognized, descent into the abyss. There were no bullets now, no explosions, no enemy in sight. But for Travis Mills, the war was far from over. It was inside him now, silent, suffocating, merciless. The days in the hospital blurred together. Nurses came and went, tubes, bandages, beeping machines, pain, constant, dull, sharp, unbearable. But the worst pain wasn't physical. It was the look in his wife's eyes when she tried not to cry. It was hearing his daughter's voice from the hallway. And not wanting her to see him like this, it was the silence inside his own head, repeating the same question over and over. What good am I now? He couldn't hold his wife's hand. He couldn't walk his daughter to the park. He couldn't even feed himself. At night he stared at the ceiling, haunted by the man he used to be, the strong soldier, the protector, the provider. Now he was a patient, a burden, a broken body in a hospital bed. Some days he wanted to disappear. He refused visitors, refused to talk, refused to feel anything but rage and shame. Kelsey stayed through every moment. She held his gaze when he looked away. She whispered encouragement when he was too tired to speak. She never left, but the choice was his. No one could make him fight. No one could force him to believe that life was still worth living. That decision had to come from within, and slowly, painfully, something began to shift. Not a breakthrough, not a miracle, just a single stubborn thought. Maybe I'm not done yet. It wasn't hope, not yet, but it was a seed, a spark, a reason to try. And for Travis Mills, that was the beginning of everything, the choice that changes everything. Travis Mills had every reason to give up. No one would have blamed him. No arms, no legs, a body wrapped in bandages, a future erased. But in the quiet moments, between the pain and the silence, something shifted. It started with a question. Simple, small. What if I try? One morning he asked the nurse to help him sit up. The next day he tried to feed himself. The spoon trembled, food spilled, but he laughed. That laugh changed the room. From that moment on, Travis attacked his recovery like a mission, with grit, with sarcasm, with defiance. He gave himself permission to fall and to get back up. Physical. Therapy became war. Each session a battlefield. He screamed through the pain, cursed the process, but he kept showing up. Every single day, he learned to use prosthetic legs, took his first steps, clumsy, painful, but his. He learned to operate mechanical arms with sensors in his muscles. He brushed his teeth, he held his daughter, he danced, kind of, with Kelsey. More than movement, he regained control, and through it all, humor became his armor. He made fun of himself before anyone else could. Look, I'm half off. You call that hard? I've been blown up harder than this. His jokes weren't just laughs, they were shields. They were proof that the man inside was still alive. He wasn't just healing his body, he was rebuilding his identity. No longer the soldier who had everything. Now, the man who lost it all and still showed up. Travis didn't become a hero the day he survived the blast. He became a hero the day he chose to live anyway. A soldier's new mission. Once Travis Mills regained control of his body, he realized something deeper. He wasn't just surviving for himself anymore. He remembered the other soldiers in his unit. Some who didn't come home, others who did, but not whole. Men broken in body and spirit, men just like him, but not all of them had a Kelsey, not all of them had support. And that thought haunted him, so Travis made a decision. If he could climb out of that hole, he would build a ladder for others too. In 2013, just a year after his injury, he founded the Travis Mills Foundation, a retreat center designed for wounded veterans and their families. A place to rest, to recover, to reconnect. No hospital beds, no pity, just strength, community, and healing. He began traveling the country, telling his story, not as a victim, but as proof. Proof that losing everything doesn't mean you have nothing left. Proof that purpose can be rebuilt. Proof that life doesn't end with pain. Sometimes it starts there. On stages across America, he made crowds laugh and cry. He showed photos of his daughter, told stories about learning to fall and get back up. He joked about airport security, prosthetic malfunctions, and the looks people gave him in grocery stores. But behind every punchline was power. Travis was redefining what it meant to be a hero. Not someone who charges into battle, but someone who rises after the battle is over and brings others with him. He didn't wear a uniform anymore, but his mission was just as clear. Help people realize that no matter what they've lost, they still have something to give. An extraordinary life. Travis Mills never set out to be a hero. He just wanted to live again, but life, real life, that doesn't wait for recovery to be perfect. So he adapted. He learned to change diapers with mechanical hands. He figured out how to grill steaks, drive a car, hold a fishing rod. He trained with his prosthetic legs until he could walk beside his daughter, not behind her. He even danced with Kelsey, stiff, clumsy, laughing the whole time. He started challenging himself in new ways, skydiving, mountain biking, whitewater rafting, not to prove something, but because adventure was still inside him. And he wasn't going to let metal and scars take that away. His life went viral. Videos of Travis lifting weights, chasing his daughter around the yard, joking with strangers at gas stations. They all carried a message. I'm still here, still living, still smiling. But he never sugarcoated it. The pain, the frustration, the hard days, they were real, and he talked about them too. That's what made people connect with him, not just his strength, but his honesty. He showed the world that being disabled doesn't mean being defeated. That joy isn't the absence of struggle. It's what you choose in the middle of it. And through it all, he never let go of the two things that saved him: his family and his humor. He once said, "People tell me I inspire them, but honestly, I just don't want to miss life. I want to be in every single moment of it." And he is, in every smile, every stumble, every sunrise he greets with gratitude, not regret. Travis Mills isn't just surviving anymore. He's living, louder than ever. Recognition and impact. Travis Mills never asked to be famous. But when you survive the impossible and help others do the same, people take notice. News outlets began sharing his story. His speeches filled auditoriums. He appeared on national television, interviewed by major networks. His name became synonymous with resilience. But for Travis, the spotlight was never the goal. He wasn't chasing medals. He had already earned the only one that mattered: the love and respect of his fellow soldiers and the gratitude of those he helped lift back to their feet. Still, the honors came. He received awards from military organizations, veterans groups, and humanitarian foundations. His book, Tough as They Come, became a bestseller. Schools invited him to speak. So did corporations, sports teams, and even the Pentagon. But his greatest achievement wasn't on a stage. It was at the Travis Mills Foundation retreat. Watching a veteran missing a leg paddle a kayak with his daughter for the first time. It was seeing a soldier smile again, a spouse breathe again, a child laugh again. That was the real reward. Travis built more than a non-profit. He built a movement, a message that echoed far beyond veterans. Your scars don't define you. What you do next does. He remained grounded, still made jokes, still wore his baseball cap backwards, still showed up to therapy when no one was watching, because impact to him was never about applause. It was about showing one person, just one, that life goes on, that even when your body says no, your spirit can say, "Watch me." And in doing that, Travis Mills became more than a wounded warrior. He became a lighthouse, not because he avoided the storm, but because he chose to shine through it. Wholehearted, Travis Mills doesn't talk about what he lost. He talks about what he still has. A family that loves him, a mission that fuels him, and a heart that refuses to quit. He wakes up every day in a body forever changed. No shortcuts, no reset button, but he wakes up with intention, with purpose, and with gratitude. He plays with Chloe in the yard, balancing on prosthetics, laughing as she runs circles around him. He hugs Kelsey, holding her tight, not with hands, but with presence, with strength, with love. And every now and then he stands in front of a crowd and reminds them, you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you react to it. That's not just a quote, it's how he lives. Travis doesn't pretend life is easy. He just refuses to let it be empty. He believes we all have something left to give, even when we feel like we've given everything. And maybe that's what makes him a hero. Not the uniform, not the medals, not even the sacrifice, but the choice to smile, the choice to serve, the choice to live fully, boldly, with a heart still beating louder than ever. Travis once said, "They took my arms and legs, but they didn't take my heart." That's still 100% intact. And when you see him moving, laughing, inspiring, you realize that's more than enough. If this story touched you, take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters, and you never know who might need to hear it. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more powerful true stories of resilience, purpose, and the human spirit. Because sometimes all it takes is one story to remind us what we're still capable of.